Welcome, everybody, to the Raad Life, the only talk radio show that takes you along with host and age explorer Raad on his continuing journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older. The Raad Life is brought to you this week by Your Home for a Lifetime, a company dedicated to empowering you to stay safely, independently, and comfortably in your own home. And now here is your host, Raad.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Raad Life. It is Wednesday. It's 12 o'clock or just about 12 o'clock, 12-ish. And so where else should you be other than listening to the Raad Life?
And you know, it's interesting how the Raad Life is really only about San Clemente now.
No. No, I'm multidimensional, and it just happened to be focused on this right now. I mean, you know, I wish I didn't have to be so focused on San Clemente, but, you know.
When you threw this challenge out, you did somebody from San Clemente, because that's where you live, and you're always involved in San Clemente, but local politics, and you did
Don't start rumors.
Had a kid that came and was running for a city council there, and you thought it was
Jackson Hinkle.
And you thought it was inspirational. Some young kid would run for anything in today's world of disengagement. Who cares? My voice doesn't matter. And then you casually said, and if anybody else wants to come in from city council races, oh my goodness, we're having 100. What are there? 100 at last count, I think here.
What, people running for city council?
City council who've been on this show.
You know what? You know what? You would think there's about 100 people.
That's what
I think
it
it's
feels.
worse than the Democratic conventions. But no, Jackson had been on the show before last election cycle, where he had started a group for students for city council.
Right.
And I think people forget that sometimes when they're thinking of him only running for office. He actually they were trying to encourage young people to get involved, regardless of political affiliation, across the whole of Orange County. And if you think about it just purely from the prospect of the future engagement in communities,
yeah, right.
it was a positive thing. And so I gave
and it's the counter narrative. The counter narrative that kids don't care and young people don't vote, and if
you listen to people, you know, the sort of the fallback wide brushstroke is millennials. Oh God, you know, I'm having a hard time with millennials, blah,
right.
blah. But then the minute you take the conversation and go, but well, hold on a second, don't you have relatives in your family that are millennials? Oh yes, but they're so great and they're so different, right? So it's really funny when you project out versus you start looking a little closer to home.
Right.
And so when it came to this special election, which again, I want to remind everybody, the reason why we're having a special election in San Clemente is because of a sad occurrence. We lost Steve Schwartz, who was mayor and had been involved in the community for a very long time. He was on, I believe he was on the planning commission prior. That was that's an assigned.
He wasn't that old either. What roughly?
No, he had a heart attack while he was on vacation. Actually, I think it was just a little. You know, people will say it's a little bit of the stress that was going on. There was a few things that he was facing, or the city was facing, and he was sitting in that seat. Steve was a friend. He was a good guy. We didn't agree on everything, but you know, he was very civil about stuff. There was sort of that. It's almost like you have to say old school, you know, mutual respect for differing points of view, because it seems like so rare these days.
How old was he roughly? I don't know. I think
he was in his late, like 50s, 60s, maybe.
So
yeah.
he wasn't like guy had been there for 80 years.
Oh no. I think it was his first like cycle through city council, and then he was like mayor. Nice guy, really nice guy. Always had time for people. Told you how it was like. Was very straight shooter. And he passed away when I was on vacation. And so we're having a special election come November 5th, and it's by mail only. So the ballots went out. I think it was like last weekend. Everybody kind of got them.
So let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
November 5th. That's like right around the corner.
Yeah, I know. So what my intention was is again, being a person who lives in the community, and having said back in the day when I went out and started working for myself that, you know, you have a choice when you live in a community. You either live in a community or you don't live in a community. And if you live in a community, then you really live in the community. You get engaged. You get involved with nonprofits. You know, I was on the Historical Society for 15 years, so I am pretty engaged. Christina will tell you, I'm probably pretty engaged in the community.
You know, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't really even know what community I live in, because I drive home. I know how to get to home. I don't talk to my neighbors. I pull into the garage. The garage goes down.
But ask him where he lives.
I live in the backyard. I never sit out front in my front porch and talk to.
Well, you guys were unincorporated for like what till like last week or something.
Actually, I truly live in the unincorporated part of the county. I say I live in Rancho, but I live in the area between Rancho and Ladera, which is called Los Flores, which is unincorporated.
Yeah, we are. I'm Christina probably will agree with this. We are very fortunate to live in San Clemente. San Clemente is a very unique town, and I'm snickering when I say that because it's a lot of that uniqueness is positive, and on occasion we're like a dysfunctional family that's over engaged in everybody's business. But I would rather be in an over. I've said this before on this show, and I'll say it again. I would rather live in an over-engaged community than one that is not engaged in everything that's going on. And so, whether you agree with people or not, but unfortunately, we have gotten to a point where the tolerance level, the sort of the civility level, has now been sacrificed a little bit, and justifies the mean. Well. That being said, just to finish my original thought that you brought up, Paul, yes, I said there's a special election going on, and had it even not been a special election, I would have probably done the same thing. There are people that stand up and are willing to be of service, which this day is a thankless job. I mean, you almost have to question somebody's sanity when they basically tell you they're running for office, and I'm being a little facetious. But really, we take it for granted that in this democracy that we live in, and I grew up in a part of the world where we didn't have the right to vote and automatically, and it wasn't like we were oppressed, but you didn't have these rights that are taken for granted here. We live in a democracy where we take for granted that people are always going to show up and run for office, and we seem to make it more and more of a blood sport every time somebody does. And yet, when you step away from just the optics, that surface optics, and you think about that, that's a human being that's running for office, that has a family, that has a support system, that have people around them. They're putting themselves out for what? Okay, yeah, maybe there's a bit of ego involved, but in big part, regardless whether you agree with them or not, most of the people I've encountered at any level of stepping up to be of service, public service, their heart is in the right place. They want to basically do good. Some of them have vested interests in terms of do good with a dollar sign attached to it, maybe. Do good with a sense of power and influence, positioning. But it is not an easy thing to do. And we just assume that anybody who stands up there is basically just free game. It's like open season on them.
But come on, if you run for San Clemente City Council, you also get, what is it, up to about $200,000-$300,000 a year as an income? You get a lot of money.
No, that's only if you run a radio station called OC Talk Radio. Don't mess with me today. Okay?
All right, I'm going to shut up.
So just to give people a sense of why Paul's a little ornery today, is he's wearing his Miles Davis T-shirt, right? He's in a very kind of creative mind space right now, I think. Right. So, but we do take it for granted.
And what was this big album, Birth of the Blues?
Birth of the Blues, right? So I don't know what Paul is birthing over there, but the thing about it that why it's not a good idea when we take this for granted that people show up and actually be of service and fill these very critical roles in our communities, whether it's at a municipal level all the way up to government level and DC, is because the quality of the people that are willing to put themselves in in front of the cannon, okay, to subject themselves and their people, their families and the support system around them to that kind of abuse sometimes, those quality of people start to become less and less and less over time. So we, as spectators of the event versus the person who's actually running, I think we have a role to play. We have a responsibility that even though we may disagree with each other, that we don't forget that it's not a blood sport. It's not about kill or be killed. It's not about win at any cost, because there's more that gets lost in the process of doing that. That being said, I have seen, and I shared this with Christina earlier today, I have seen where it has gotten worse and worse and worse in San Clemente. One election cycle after the other. It's just like free for all. It's like the roving mob. In fact, I was told today,
yes,
by Christina, as informed as I thought I was, I did not realize that we actually had a physical brawl on Del Mar over the weekend between two parties that are two candidates, surrogates, or whoever was involved. I don't know. But, I mean, think about that.
Cool. Can I see it on YouTube?
Probably.
It's probably viral by now, right?
Cool.
Okay, see, this is the problem.
Now you got my interest,
this is the problem. You're in it for blood sport.
This is totally the problem. And it's the only
Right.
job in America that people can actually physically assault you, put their hands on you without permission, scream in your face,
Yeah.
and be so unhinged screaming in your face that they're basically spitting in your face. I'm speaking from experience.
Feeling
Yeah.
totally entitled doing it.
And getting
And
away
can
with
libel you because you're a public official, so I can say anything about you.
it. Or attacking. Actually,
Yeah.
they put their hands on my body.
So introduce
So-
the body that's sitting in front
So,
of us.
Christina, thank you for sharing that. Okay, and I told you, I told you today, I said, if you want to, you take it wherever you want to take it, because I think it's absolutely ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. I mean, the petulance, okay, the tantrums, the sense of entitlement that these adults, probably halfway through their life, like 50, 60-year-olds, 40-year-olds, 30-year-olds, that would never accept their children to behave this way, or somebody to behave towards their children the way that they are behaving to. They're sitting around in judgment in a manner that is absolutely unacceptable. I mean, and then
But it is kind of cool to watch. I got to be honest. It is kind of cool to watch as we all tear each other apart,
and then-
rip each other up. Come on, that's all we want to watch here. We don't want to get stuff done.
Well, if it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead. Right?
That's right, exactly.
So and the ramifications of that kind of behavior seeming to be condoned by those so-called adults is then when you have a situation like we had at the high school the other day, where you basically have a visiting football team that is basically playing on our field in San Clemente, and you have racist commentary and derogatory commentary and abusive behavior from children and adults. If you are behaving that way, guess who's going to follow your example?
Exactly.
Right? So
introduce your guest. We've gone 15 minutes and we don't even know who she is.
Well, it's okay. We're setting the battleground here, right? So my guest today is Christina Selter, who is basically running for the special elections in San Clemente for a seat on the city council, among other things, though. And I'm going to let Christina talk about that. She's a businesswoman. She advocates for seniors. You're so busy. Why the heck would you even step into this mush pit of activity? I mean, tell people a little bit about your background, your connection with San Clemente, and I'm just setting it up, right, Christina?
Yes, sir.
But then seriously, I want to know, like, what does it take? Because you're very aware, you're conscious of what's going on around you. Why would you step into this?
Well, first, I never expected anybody to actually put their hands on me. I mean, to behave like an Antifa mob with a director cheering everybody on, it's obscene. No man, no woman should ever put their hands on anyone,
Right.
especially without permission or in a violent way. And
So
that's exactly what happened.
where did that-
That's actionable behavior. I mean, if you were in a work environment, that would be considered some sort of sexual misconduct,
it's assault.
discrimination,
It's
assault. Yeah, absolutely.
So where and when?
It is flat out assault.
Where
It was
and
a few months ago. It was in Costa Mesa, right down the street from here. And we were in
Well, we're crazy here in Costa Mesa. We're
the people
we're a
were
mob
from
riot here. Yeah.
The people were from San Clemente, and they came in as a mob. They behaved like a mob. They behaved like Antifa. They were verbally, physically abusive. They actually surrounded us. There was about 12 of us. One woman, Lucy Rath, whose husband is running in another campaign, was actually hit in the head while sitting in her wheelchair because they were being so aggressive with
my
their cell
God.
phones. I was shoved, pushed. The other women were shoved and pushed.
And what were you there for? Why were you in Costa Mesa? Give us the context.
It was
there.
at the OCGOP event.
Oh, the OCGOP.
Yes,
All right,
and
so,
Greg
okay.
Rath was one of the individuals that was going to be speaking, and we're
Yeah,
friends.
yeah. Greg's been on the show a number of
Yes,
times.
and his wife was there in a wheelchair and was accosted by them along with the rest of us. They denied it, saying, "Oh well, if it's not on video, it's not true." So people like Cynthia Thacker, who's the head of all of Orange County Federated Women,
Yeah.
wrote a letter. Lucy Rath, many of the other women wrote letters into complaining to file a complaint.
Rightfully so.
And rightfully so. I did not write one because I figured everybody else was doing it. And I just actually went and met with first responders and an attorney who then advised me that they just really didn't want me anywhere in the vicinity of these individuals. And then they shared videos with me that I guess are, most people already know about them, but a lot of San Clemente, the normal people, I would say, that actually care about the community and actually volunteer and serve in our community, they aren't aware of these videos. There's a video that came out again, and it's one of the candidates revving their engine, putting toxic gases out of their vehicle into a tent of a retired disabled vet. And yes, he's homeless, but
Yeah.
that's assault. You cannot just go and gas somebody and then make jokes about it and laugh about it on video. It's disgusting. The behavior from these individuals, and not all of them, but they work as a mob. They come in, they surround, they scream, they yell, just like they did on Del Mar this weekend.
Absolutely.
But you had both teams. You had Hinkle's team and you had James' team.
Gene James, yeah.
And the profanity and the vulgarity and the behavior is so beyond unprofessional. There were children. It was actually right near my office, which, of course, as you know, I haven't been able to be in my office because Mr. James also showed up screaming and yelling in my business, asking for my manager and demanding that he not let me show any of my clients a house that he knew about. I assume it was his own house that he has for sale or his wife's.
Christina, I just want to make sure that I for the record, okay? This kind of behavior also has been rampant on social media by those
Correct.
same people.
Correct.
And there are definitely certain, hitmen, henchmen, whatever you want to refer to them, seriously ugly personalities that are just at any cost. And I want to just clarify one thing. Paul was here when I made anybody who's running on to city council
Yes.
to show up. I sent out emails. You contacted me through an email, right? Crickets from one particular camp, the Gene James campaign. I was accused of not contacting them. Okay, when I contacted all the candidates back in September, right after Jackson was on, and made that offer. So there was a public offer made. It was an email offer made. It was made on multiple cases and postings on social media. The surrogates of particular campaigns reach out to me to say yes or to say blah, 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 whatever. You've already endorsed somebody, right? And lastly, this week, I was accused of not reaching out to the Gene James campaign. And I said, not only did I reach out to them via email, I also had Eva O'Keefe, who is a person who's supporting them, please pass on the message. To clarify and to set the record straight, till today, October 23rd, as I sit here, 0 contact, crickets from that particular campaign. That being said, every single other person who's running for this special election has reached out or has been responsive. Christina is the third person to basically be on here, and Mickey is going to be on Friday. Paul, thank you very much for giving us an extra time slot.
I think it's
to
important.
do that. Right?
Can I just?
But hold on a second. So I want to echo, okay, what Christina's saying. I don't care what you feel that you stand up for. The minute it becomes this vulgar, this mob-like, okay, you are lucky that somebody is not taking the full extent of the law and just coming after you. Okay, the behavior, the sense of entitlement to behave that way, that gassing of the veteran homeless person, and a sense of, well, no, I didn't gas him, the car just happened to be close by. Okay, please, that kind of excusing, that kind of entitled justification, you wouldn't even accept from a child.
No.
Now
It's
again,
assault.
this
Yeah,
is
it's assault. It's assault. It is what it is. It's assault.
Remind me. This is what maybe you're all going to yell at me now here, but I picture this as sleepy, quiet, peaceful San Clemente by the sea. A nice.
Well, that's why most people make the mistake of underestimating
San
what happens.
Clemente.
In San Clemente.
This isn't, some. I don't know where I would expect. This isn't a war zone. This isn't a. This is what I would think would be a sleepy suburban community.
Christina, how long have you been in San Clemente?
About a decade.
About 10 years.
Born and
Okay.
raised Orange County, San Clemente. My husband serves. We've been there quite a while. The behavior is disgusting. It would not be accepted in any other job in America, and it shouldn't be accepted in politics. It's absolutely absurd. I think we need to make a change. I think San Clemente can make a change.
Yeah.
But what you were just saying, sleepy, calm, beautiful, unique, awesome San
Yeah,
Clemente.
right.
Love my town. Love my neighbors. I actually sit in my front yard, not my backyard.
Right.
But money is evil. It's the root of all evil. So if you look and you trace the money being spent in these campaigns or being donated to these campaigns, and the behavior and the hit pieces going out, that is the problem.
Well,
the problem is the money. There's no reason.
It's completely disproportionate to the nature of the town, the nature of the campaign, right?
That means there's something that wants to get done.
Yeah.
So if somebody with a lot of money wants to get something done, then you have to buy and pay for your candidates.
And the easiest way is to, in today's scenario, is to whip people up into a frenzy.
Well, fear mongering is, and the sky is falling, and your neighbor could basically attack you, and you should be afraid of everything, near you, and from people that are different, people that believe differently, people that look differently. I mean, it's the same old book, a game book of fear mongering that happened. I don't know, under the fascists in Italy, under the fascists in Germany, the Nationalist Party in Germany. I mean, put whatever wrapper you want on it. The behavior is exactly the same.
The fascists in Russia or whatever, whatever authoritative Ukraine, right? We're getting the idea that mob is right.
So expand a little bit more about what you mean about the money being evil, especially how it's playing out here.
Well, if you think back to Laura Ferguson's last run, she spent, I think she had $2,500. I'm running on probably $1,000. Yeah. And of course, I paid for a lot of things myself.
Right.
And you do have a really cool logo. I got to tell you that.
That's my husband.
You got a really cool. It says Christina Seltzer for City Council, and then it's kind of like this cool little, retro.
It's got the little waves.
It's beautiful.
It's still patriotic, but softer.
And you've got this insane idea that you put as a slogan: "Standing together." No, come on. We're going to fight this out.
Well, when I first was going to run, I was going to run 2020.
Yeah.
And then Steve passed away, and I had already pulled my tax ID, everything. I was ready to go for 2020. And then I was suggested by some city council members and other people in the area to go and check out the other campaigns. Mm-hmm. And I did. Mm-hmm. And I went to one meeting and helped with some signs, was going to go to another sign thing and didn't go. Decided, yikes. This is not my kind of people. Mm-hmm. I don't believe in trashing each other. It's very difficult sitting here and, yes, you already know, everybody knows that I was assaulted. Everybody knows. It was in the in the blogs. No,
when you told me that Gene James actually showed up at your place of business and felt entitled to actually put at risk and jeopardize your income?
Yeah.
No, sorry. At that point, all the rules are off. All the gloves come off. That behavior, and people say, "Well, it's confrontational. Why you want to put yourself?" Because when you stay quiet to behavior like that, it doesn't go away. It just gets worse.
It's been horrible.
Don't believe me? There's concentration camps that were liberated after World War II. It just gets worse.
It's worse.
Worse. You are basically condoning the behavior by your silence.
Well, and sooner or later, it really will be violent. I mean, it sounds like it's been violent, but I mean, in a certain sense,
I'm blown away that we had it was like, what is this, West Side Story? Basically, we had like a rumble on Del Mar.
In front of children.
Right.
Yes,
in front of children and families. This is so wrong. And the fact that current city council members, all of them.
And where is city council on this? Where is the outcry from the current leadership to say absolutely uncondonable?
Where's the money? Who gets the money? Who gets the money in the next campaign?
Somebody was involved in that fight that basically we can't speak out against.
And they hate each other so much. It's so broken that you've got two on one side, two on the other side, that they are going to battle it out and attempt to damage each other completely, and their families. And I know, coming here, I already knew that you had endorsed Jackson.
Yeah,
I knew that. But if you can't sit down with somebody at a table, be polite, have a conversation, get through this, talk things out.
Right.
You and I see eye to eye on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Probably not everything, but seniors.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Christina, I'll be very, very candid. I mean, and Jackson knows this, and I already explained at the beginning of the show. I am actually a very strong supporter of anybody who is young, who is basically wants to get engaged in a community. And Jackson, to his credit, was very involved in environmental issues at the high school. Mm-hmm. He basically, I thought it was very, very courageous and very forward-thinking to establish a group of young people to run in different cities across Orange County. I mean, this is the future that you want. This is the kind of stuff you encourage. When you see your own kids step up, I mean, I have a nephew that's basically in London right now that just won his debate relevant to a Model UN. Okay, and they.
But you weren't saying you hate others. No, you applauded young people.
Yeah, I applauded young people, and when he is running for city council for the second time, it's a form of encouragement. Yes, continue to be. Now, people adjust, they modify, they improve, they refine their position on stuff. All of us at the age of 20 think differently at the age of 40 and 50 than we did at the age of 20, and that is absolutely acceptable to grow. I mean, if you know everything you know at the age of 20, then what the heck is the point of getting to 50?
Well, we're all broken. We all have flaws.
Right.
Nobody's perfect.
So that being said, yes, I did. I endorsed him, and I again believe that I don't have to agree with everybody 100%. Right? We can still have room. In fact, the exchange, and we say this about this show all the time, having the dialogue is more important than what is said, because not having the dialogue doesn't allow for us to grow together, let alone stand together.
And the name of this station is OC Talk Radio, streaming, not screaming.
Yeah, I know. We're doing a lot more screaming today. But I'm really livid. I really am livid. And I am so livid because this is happening in my own town. And
it's happening everywhere.
And it's affecting
It is happening everywhere.
Right.
Left, right,
well,
center,
why
everywhere.
it's happening in San Clemente is because on the national arena even, okay, it has been made condonable, allowable to behave in this manner.
It seems to work.
It's money.
So
Well, of course it's money.
so
The
let's-
answer is money. What was the
Big
question?
money.
Right, yeah.
Big money.
All right, so let's explore this, and I want to give you a couple of seconds.
But there is definitely a cost. Even though it is money, there is a cost. We're selling a part of our soul
no question.
and our civility, okay? And we're assuming it's recoverable. I mean, no problem. There's not going to be any unintended consequences of this behavior. Absolutely, there's going to be.
Yes, there is.
So let's give you all the time you need. Let's talk about not just who you are, but why you're running, what issues you think are important, and then I want to hear about the money. So what? Because I don't live in San Clemente, so I don't know why everybody's so worked up. Okay, you want to be a city councilman? Great. You
Yeah,
do
but
it
then,
this
but
time,
then
you
again,
do it
Paul
next.
also didn't know why we were all worked up about no toll road running through our town, and his position was, well, where were you guys when we were dealing with
Exactly. You didn't care when we ran through my town. But anyway,
it? You're holding a little resentment, I think, Paul.
Yeah, a little.
probably. So I really don't know why there's all this anger and money being thrown into a city council race in sleepy San Clemente. So tell me what the issues are, where your positions are, and tell us about the money.
Okay, you first asked why did I get into this?
Yes, why did you
and
get
it
into
was
it?
after I had met some of the campaigns and the individuals involved in the campaigns, which happened to be the ones that were fighting on Del Mar.
Yeah.
I decided that those are not the individuals. Those aren't the people that I hang out with. I don't hang out with them at church. I don't go out to dinner with them. It is not my world. I believe in being civil, having a conversation, figuring things out. I actually believe in making a plan, coming up with something, testing it, get some case studies, and if it works, move it forward. I'm the only candidate, 4 men and myself, the only woman running, and I'm the only one that serves in our city. I serve seniors. I serve low income. I'm the senior resource ministry leader at my church. I sit on 2 boards with the Office of Aging, who then report to our county supervisors. I'm working my tail off to get money to seniors in San Clemente through Office on Aging. We just finished our report. All of our boards meet. You know, Elaine Genoway and everybody. We sit, Patty, we all sit on these boards.
Patty Muta. Yeah.
Yes, and we all try to get money for our seniors or our low income in our areas. There are buckets and buckets and buckets of money sitting there at the county of Orange.
You're listing. You know, it seems kind of a little bit of a repeat based on what I did last Saturday. But you're listing unsung heroes that have served this community and this county
Amen.
for so many decades, that are the real where the rubber meets the road.
Mm-hmm. And those are the ladies that encouraged me.
Yeah.
Absolutely encouraged me. I said I was going to run 2020, and they said, why? Then it's an incumbency. You run right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're a strong woman. You do the right thing. You serve people. You volunteer your time. You sit on these boards, and you fight for San Clemente every single day to get them money
Right.
for our low income and our seniors. Not only that, but a few of them have said that they have a plan for the senior. We know what Jeans is. He's going to gas them. Jackson.
Oh my goodness! I mean, but that it comes
Sorry,
down
that's
to
what
that.
was in the blog today. I'm just repeating what was in the blog.
gonna
And then
guess.
Jackson's, I don't know what his is. He might have a different idea. And then, of course,
I think Jackson is pushing for that, which seems to what a lot of the county is doing.
regional.
I'm not necessarily that I agree with it as a full-time solution or a sustainable solution, but they're pushing for the regional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they are pushing for the regional. I don't think that they want it in San Clemente. I think they want it somewhere else. But regional is regional. We're the 3 of us: Dana Point, San Clemente, and San
Yeah.
Juan.
So somebody. Here's the thing: somebody is going to be impacted. Okay, but if that's all that you're looking at in terms of when you're thinking about a solution for the homeless crisis, which, by the way, is not something like all of a sudden one day we had a homeless crisis. This has been building. This has been,
Yes.
there's been an abdication of leadership on so many levels where the head is in the sand, kick the can down the road. It's not my deal. You know, I don't
Not
want to
my
touch it.
backyard.
This is too hot a potato, right? We didn't find ourselves here overnight.
No.
And it's not like the issue of homeless when it comes to the United States is this odd foreign thing that we imported from somewhere else. You look at the history of homeless. You don't believe me? Wikipedia search homeless. It has always been there. Okay, and there are things that are sustainable solutions,
Yes.
and there are things that are not. And kicking the can down the road, and not in my backyard, and I'm not going to take care of this thing that is required by law, and I'm going to put legal cost on the city and a burden on the community in order to basically continue to bury my head in the sand, does not lead to a sustainable solution.
That's not a solution. That's not even a plan. That's nothing. That's just ignoring it and then.
But it might
Not
cost me
taking care
some
of
votes, Christina. If I actually stand up and actually be a leader and actually fulfill my job description of sitting in that seat, that might actually cost me my reelection. So maybe
Or
I
the
don't know.
election.
Or yeah, but I
And
don't.
you get paid a lot of money. What was it, about $300,000-$400,000 to serve in the city council? So I understand.
No. We're by the ocean in San Clemente, so we pay in clams.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Is
Seafood
it-
and clams.
It's you don't. I'm kidding. You don't
Beads,
get paid to
shells.
You don't get paid to be
a little bit.
You get paid a little, but it's not. It's like every other political office. If your intention is to basically leverage your political office for your own personal gain, the money isn't when you're in office. It's about what happens when you're running
Yeah,
for a
right. It's the
campaign.
connections
It's
you have and everything, yeah.
what boards you get. You know,
When you're the
assigned
consultant
to.
Yeah, right.
What gets dumped into your account when you're running, and
Exactly.
then how you get to use it
Yeah.
afterwards. But basically, so we've got
Nobody's fooled. I mean, we all know
So
that.
that's why you ran. What are the issues? I don't know what the issues are in San
our
Clemente.
homeless. Of course, that's in every city
hear that a
in
bit.
the county. That it's nationwide. It's an epidemic. We all
And-
know it. It's on the news every night.
And let me stop you for
But we're
one
still,
second.
but you know what we're trying to. Sorry, Paul, because I heard this yesterday. I thought it was brilliant. Okay, we are dealing with the homeless issue like it's a housing problem. You notice that?
Where do we put them?
No, but I want you to just listen to this. We're dealing with the homeless issue as a housing problem, not as a homeless problem, not as a quality of life, improvement of opportunities, increasing of
Dignity.
skill sets, you know, getting them to where it's a hand up, not a hand out. We're not dealing with that way. Why are we so all of a sudden dealing with it as a housing problem? And everybody, including all those that have been feeding at the public trough on things like the toll road and the Poseidon project in Huntington Beach and the Arctic project in Anaheim. Oh my God, it's the same people, same name.
But we are doing something. We just broke ground in Irvine
Right,
with the wellness center.
but what I'm saying, Christina, though, is why is it a housing problem? Because there's money to be made
In the study of housing.
in this. All of a sudden, the homeless issue in Orange County is the new cash cow
Yes.
that we can, as consultants and lobbyists, make money on. I'm sorry. Do with it what you will. You go make your money. But I'm going to call it like I see it. If you really want to fix the homeless problem, it is a multi-layered problem,
Yes, it
and
is.
you have to have a multi-layered solution.
So
Yes,
let
we
me
do.
let me hear some of these more multi-layers. But the background I hear, and again, I don't live in the community, was at San Clemente.
Here in the back 40.
Yeah, okay, literally. So San Clemente, like all the cities, has a rising housing. More and more people can't afford to live. Of alcohol and drug abuse, veterans coming back without what to
Mental
do,
illness.
mental illness. All these things are compounding the problem that's been there and it's growing. Now, tell me just quickly, without getting all wound up here, both of you, about San
too
Clemente
late.
did not opt into the county's. The county was sued by certain organizations. The famous Judge Carter, who sat on the Aryan Brother cases and the Mattel versus whatever those dolls that my daughter used to collect. Anyway, he's been around a long time, and he said, "You guys got to fix this, okay? Sorry, and you can't have all these homeless in the riverbeds and all these other things here and whatnot." And then the county tried to come up with a solution, and you can argue whether it's good or bad or whether they had the money. But as I understand, San Clemente opted out, like many South County cities did, and then tried to come up with their own ordinances. We're going to kick them out. We're going to round them up and put them in a vacant lot. We're going to do other sorts of sounded wild ideas to me as an outsider. Is that part of the issue? Is it just the fact you have homeless there and we got to come up with an answer, or is it the choices that were made?
What's your plan on this?
Well, actually, because I serve in my community, I've actually been placing homeless people.
Okay.
Nobody else is serving. Nobody else is placing them. I actually went and learned the system with Elaine, with everybody else, and know where the money is. So if you need Section 8 funds, right now the county is handing out Section 8.
What is Section 8 funds? I don't know
Low
that.
income.
Low income.
Okay.
It's a check money that they can use for their rent. However, there's no Section 8 available because a lot of these Section 8s that were up for renewal, the owners of the property decided, I don't want to do this anymore. So you've lost hundreds and hundreds of beds. You also don't have for veterans and mental illness. That's totally separate from your just everyday down on my
Hold
luck,
on a
lost
second,
my
Paul.
job.
But I'm confused. I gotta ask for clarification there. All right. So the county will give money to who? To the landlord to we'll pay for this person's thing, and you're saying landlord said we don't want it anymore? We don't.
No.
The county has money in many, many buckets, lots and lots of money that they can subsidize individuals' rents. However, a Section 8 has to, the owner of the property or
Has
the
to agree.
landlord has to have a bunch of paperwork done to get approved to be able to accept the Section 8.
Okay.
The current or the prior Section 8s that were built and functioning the past 20, 30 years, those owners decided not to renew Section 8. So all of those beds, rooms, apartments went away.
And why? Because they can get more money?
Because they can get more, rents are up. They are way up.
So I don't want that little bit of money. I can.
Well, and this problem has been coming for a long time because a lot of communities, San Clemente one of them, but it's not only San Clemente, and I'm talking about this from my perspective on the construction and the design side of things. A lot of communities allowed developers that were coming in to build housing that by law required a certain percentage of housing to be affordable housing units to basically pay money into the coffers of the city in the form of in lieu funds.
Correct.
So that the idea was that the developer is now not saddled with having to provide the housing or the affordable housing units within their developments, but then the city would now be responsible to take that money and develop something that would then have a concentration of affordable housing. What happened as a result of that is the cities then, my read on it, abdication of leadership again, did not do that because there was too much of an electoral body cost impact possibly for the city to champion a project that would be an affordable housing project in a prestigious or luxury destination.
Not in my backyard.
Not in my backyard. So what happened is now the city has all this money that is supposed to be for affordable housing that was paid for by developers that then wash their hands of the responsibility of providing
So
the units.
no affordable housing was built. Here, I'll give you a check instead, and the checks have been piling up.
Well, no, there were no checks. The city just did not build it, and whenever they
But- or
attempted
the money,
to do affordable
right.
housing, it's almost like you're saying, projects or squalor. Like in some parts of this county, if you say the word affordable housing, it is regarded like you're bringing in, shanty towns. You're building.
But if you look at what Jamboree builds,
Right.
Jamboree's low-income housing and senior housing and vet housing
Absolutely.
is absolutely gorgeous.
Yes.
Absolutely
And
gorgeous.
there are developers that specialize specifically into that because it is an opportunity. This is there's a supply and demand situation. There's a lot of demand, no supply. If I basically can set up my business plan to provide this product and to provide it with sort of a humane, not just bare minimums, because that doesn't solve anything long term either, right? Yeah, the world that you and I live in, Christina, where we are encountering people that are low income, veterans, seniors, people that have means and people who do not. I mean, people forget that a lot of seniors that are one medical cost away from basically slipping into a homeless situation, that homeless seniors as a homeless part of the homeless population is the second largest increasing portion of the homeless community. And people it's okay, that's your grandfather and your grandmother. That is a senior elder in your family that basically had a couple of really bad medical cost impacts and now finds themselves without a house, cannot afford anything, and basically are homeless. Where are these going to go? Where's the my brother and my sister's keeper component?
I
of
don't care,
this?
but not my backyard. All right, so I'm just trying to understand. So San Clemente made different choices. Do you agree with those choices or disagree with those choices, how they handled the lawsuits and the homeless issue?
We are out of money. The lawsuits have absolutely cremated us. Each city council, I would say more than the past 10 years, has made these mistakes.
Including the current one that
The current,
basically ran
correct.
on the fact that they were coming in to stop
Yeah.
The bleeding and unnecessary and irresponsible lawsuits.
Yeah.
And what did they do? Exactly, started lawsuits.
Because the city was paying to fight this lawsuit, right? So they were throwing money into it to fight this requirement that they had to do something about it. Is that a correct reading of it?
Some of the lawsuits, yes. Right. But as he said, the current individuals on city council ran on the fact that they were going to fix this, and they have not. There has been additional lawsuits, we have no money.
More lawsuits.
No, ran on the fact that the previous city council, the people that they were running against, okay, or people that whose seats they were trying to replace, that those people were irresponsible in how they handled the legal challenges that the city had, and that took the city into lawsuits that cost us unnecessarily money. Got it. And what did they do when it came to the homeless situation?
Same thing.
They ran lawsuits. So again, it goes back to that formula that I remind people. When you're running for city council, you can stand at that podium and, point your finger at anybody you want for as long as you want. Use that as a platform to run for city council. What happens is you think that the people sitting in those seats have all the possibilities to do everything. They are governed by rules and regulations and ordinances and laws. The minute that you are no longer standing on the free side of the podium and you're sitting in the chair, you are now having to find solutions within those parameters.
Yes.
So don't tell me pie in the sky baloney when you're running for city council, because I'm not buying it anymore. You got to tell me a plan that actually makes sense given the realities that the world lives in, not your, if all things being equal, fantasy land, I can do this and this and this.
So Christina gets elected on November, whatever it is. What's the date of the election?
November 5th.
November 5th. And Christina's next action after she celebrates is what?
Yeah, what are like, give us 2 or 3 things that you would
Well,
base.
my homeless plan
Yeah.
has already been submitted to the County of Orange.
Okay.
It is sitting there. I have another presentation on November 30th because I now have several case studies that have been extremely successful in getting these people off of the street and placed in less than a week.
Christina, where can people find this? We're getting carried away with this, but let's give people the website. No, it's an important conversation, but let's give people the website. Where can they find this plan that you're referring to?
They can actually go to the website, Christina2019.com. My contact is in there. They can send me an email and I can get them some information. I'm not actually legally allowed to release the actual plan because we're still working on it. That's what November 30th is for. But everybody is very happy with it. I was with Patty, as you know, Patty, and a few of the others. It's not just to place the seniors. What we did was we took my plan and I went to the county supervisors and said, well, if I can do this with seniors, then I can also do this with low income. It's just cookie cut the same plan down the road. I can do this with
challenges.
The same challenges. You have to get them off the street.
Right.
And then not only off the street, but they say mental illness
keep
or
them off the
drugs.
street,
You
yeah.
have to have, you can't just do this 72 hours in. The Orange County Jail, Don Barnes is running the largest mental health institution in the world is our jail system. They come in, they stay 72 hours, they're back out. Sometimes they OD or die immediately because their tolerance level is down. What we need is a process that they can get well and get better. Even with Skid Row, what you've got is you've got these drug dealers and these pimps and everything within the community of the homeless.
They closed down all the mental facilities during Reagan. I mean,
Years ago,
this has been a
we
problem
threw them all
that's
out on the
compounded.
streets,
And
yeah.
so when you say, our jails are the largest things, yes, because where else would it be?
They can't. They get arrested for it, and then of course, as you know, all those laws change. Now everything's petty. It's a misdemeanor.
Yep.
You cannot force an individual to get help, but what we can do with the plan that I have in effect, working on and still placing people. I get calls from police all over Orange County, 6 o'clock in the morning from Laguna Beach, yesterday on Move Day, and they
what do they call you for? I got somebody.
They're calling me to say I have this individual, just had a car accident, couldn't pay the rent, homeless, whatever the issue is. I even had a call last week where it was a young man that was finally ready to get clean. So I reached out to my friend Jody Barber. I'm sure you know who that is. She's a very dear friend of mine. I reached out to her in the middle of the morning and said, hey, I've got this young man. We need to get him placed. Charlie's house was under renovation, so we couldn't get him in there, but she made some calls. We got him placed. I also work with Laura, who's the veteran.
Yeah.
You have to have the right connections.
So is it one-on-one, which you sort of as an extended network of one-on-one placement and not a one-size-fits-all, let's just house them here, but
Well, if we're going to be honest, okay, and we're going to really look at our own experience and our own background, just those conditions or the situations where we've actually seen positive impact on something, right? It really comes down to what you just said, Paul. It is a one-on-one, and it's literally somebody stepping out and either go pick up that person and drop them at the right place. This is what actually makes the positive impact. This whole, we're going to spend oodles of money on white papers and oodles of money on basically consultants to tell us exactly what we already know needs to be done. You really want to find out what needs to be done? Go volunteer at that soup kitchen. Go to Mary's Kitchen. Go to the Council on Aging meetings. Don't be sitting up here in the helicopter lofty, penthouses and thinking about white papers. And get into the trenches, because I'll tell you, not only do you need to solve the immediate needs that these people have, the immediate challenges, the minute endangered, if they're in a vulnerable population, but you also have to make sure that it's a sustainable solution.
Yeah,
and that's the critical point.
Correct.
Sustainable solution. Sustainable does not mean till the next election cycle.
Well, it sustained me in office here. No. So I get kind of what you're saying, and you've been doing this for a long time in your own volunteer work and helping with people placement, and you're doing it today, and you're hopeful you'll do it for San Clemente. How does that differ from what I guess what I'm trying to understand is, how is that different from what the city council has done, other than they're going to more lawsuits and do nothing?
None of the city council members have ever placed anybody or got them off the streets. They haven't gone in the ditches and learned how to do it and learned what the problems are. They just are a bunch of mouthpieces. Everybody's screaming and yelling, walking out of meetings, not showing up. Whatever the problem is, they're not getting along.
It's at arm's length. You cannot solve these societal problems in any meaningful way at arm's length.
You got to roll up.
That never has worked. It will never work.
Nope, it won't. And every single case is different. It's not just lump all these people in as drug or alcoholics, and then these people as mental ill, and this person over the age of 65. They could be over the age of 65 and also be a veteran with PTSD. So every single individual
and an
that's
alcoholic
homeless,
or whatever.
and an alcoholic.
Yeah,
Each and every one of them have a different story.
They could be a returning
issue.
veteran in their 20s
Yes.
that have PTSD.
Yes.
Right? And they're basically challenged. I mean, the thing that blows my mind is we have this sort of almost hands-off, inhumane way. You cannot separate the human factor out of these problems.
No.
You have to embrace them. I know it's uncomfortable, and it means that you may put yourself in that vulnerable space, close to people. Ooh, yeah, but you can't. It's part and parcel. Okay, if you're talking about addiction, if you're talking about recovery, if you're talking about homeless, if you're talking about seniors, if you're talking about veterans, you cannot do this at arm's length.
And
be meaningful.
none of them have done anything. None of them have gone, oh, wait a minute, I'm sorry. Yes, a couple of them go down there and take selfies with people, because, of course, that's accomplishing a lot.
That helps.
And posting it. That's just accomplishing so much to go take
get to
selfies
see
and
a
take
picture
credit
of
of
it.
Well,
stuff.
it goes back to that unsung hero. Like the people that are really doing stuff are the
You don't know
people that
about
are you don't know about them.
No, nobody knew I was doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, my church and Alzheimer's and all of that, and you.
Well,
those individuals,
inside
but-
that circle, you know who's doing what,
Right.
because those are the people you go to when you are looking for meaningful resources or meaningful something to happen. You pick up the phone, you call Patty. You pick up the phone, you call the Council on Aging. You pick up the phone, and you call Alzheimer's. These are the people that you go to, not the mouthpieces that are going to do nothing but other than amplify noise.
They're just a bunch of egos sitting there right now.
All right,
A bunch of egos
I'm
is
gonna
all that's going
I'm
on.
going to get you angry San Clementians off the topic. All right, so I'm trying to. You've intrigued me, so I'm going to throw in a few more extra minutes here. I don't want to rush this, because I appreciate that you came down. I really do, and that I wish everybody would come down and talk through these things. So homelessness is one big issue.
Yes,
What
sir.
other issues are out there? And I still want to understand why the money's trying to flood in, and what is it? What's
For
their
the same
agenda?
reason, for the same reasons you started the conversation when you made reference to San Clemente, Paul. Beach town, beautiful environment, medium age and 40-something, cost of property. What's medium price? Probably 800,000, maybe.
I'd stick closer to 1.2. 1.2
1.2
is the magic
million.
number.
I was going to say it's magic.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you answered your own question, Paul. The answer is money. What was the question? So the money wants more money. There's a resource and a location, a destination, the more control.
But I guess what I'm trying to get at, like, for
He
example,
just doesn't want to face his own and the toll road.
The toll road.
That will only relieve 7% at $1 billion. What's the
clear.
rate of return on 7% improvement at $1 billion?
The whole thing is that you've got these individuals running. I know Jackson, he's against the toll road.
Yeah.
Got that.
Supposedly everybody is.
Supposedly. Then you've got the other loudmouth that is screaming how they are also against the toll road. Against the toll road. I'm against it. I will never,
Everybody
ever let it
says they're
happen.
against it. Yeah, they all say they're against. Is anybody for it? Is anybody
No, because the minute
lying.
you say, I would consider possibly the benefits of toll road, you're dead in San Clemente politically. You're
So
gone.
you have to also look at where's that money in that campaign coming from, and why would they be putting money into that campaign? Would it be the toll road going down Pico? And when it does go into Pico, where does it go to?
Where does it go to, Christina?
Right to our wonderful outlet. But you already knew that.
Is it that crass? Is it that there are developers who are trying to?
The answer is money. What was the question? So, and I have to give quotation marks for Bill Baskin, who's a friend of mine, who when he first told me that while we were sitting on in his house in Salvador, Bill's moved to Vegas, but when he told me that, I felt like somebody had just absolutely taken away all my higher, loftier approach to humanity. Like, oh my God, what do you mean? And he goes, the answer is money. Because I was sitting there and I was whining about this and whining about that, and I can't believe why people don't see this. And he's like, look at me, and he's lighting his cigar and handing me one, and he goes, the answer is money. What was the question?
It's always money.
The answer is money, Paul.
So
you take whatever.
You go to church and it's
money.
throughout the Bible. It's money. Money is the root of all evil. So if they're trying to get a toll road, and these people don't want it, and these people don't care, and these people have no idea,
right.
Whoever has the money is going to get that toll road. I didn't run on saying yes or no to a toll road. I don't want a toll road. My husband serves. We live on the southwest side. We don't want to lose homes. I don't want homes and businesses lost on Pico. I went back and I met with different city officials, different mayors, dozens and dozens of mayors in other cities, and asked them their opinions. And it all came back to regional mobility. How can you get regional mobility? Well, I went and found out that Flex OC, which are these smaller like minivans, is hugely successful. I brought this up at the GOP thing. And
if you really just want to move people around.
If you need to move people around, you just move people around.
I'm curious, okay?
$5 a day.
When you brought it up at the GOP thing, how was it received?
That was in front of a specific committee.
Yeah.
And one individual was quite nasty, but it was clear who he liked. The others were familiar with it because it was in their cities. And then Laurie, who's running, actually piped in on the phone, and she's like, yeah, Christina's right. That program is hugely successful, and it's gaining traction. They should have it.
If we have it again, San Clemente will be the one that would be impacted, like in an unrecoverable way. Okay,
Huge.
all right. If we look at
from the toll road, from
the needs of San Clemente, we have eliminated bus routes for lack of ridership.
Yep.
We have a program with Lyft because the guy who runs Lyft basically has an affinity and a connection with the community, and basically they have a pilot program that is providing at $2 a trip, okay, through San Clemente, that is making up for the lost ridership because the OCTA basically canceled their bus routes for a couple of, I think it's 2 bus routes. Okay, there's a trolley. We don't have a mobility problem in San Clemente. So the whole county is looking at San Clemente being sacrificed, and I hate to put it to you, Board of Supervisors, but San Clemente being sacrificed on the sacrificial flames of achieving what? 7% potential improvement in traffic flow. Traffic does not flow north and south. It flows east and west in the county, okay? You guys want to build in Irvine, you want to basically have congestion in Irvine, resolve it by going somewhere else. We don't have a problem. You keep basically having work on the freeways happening on the weekend.
Last piece in the puzzle. They've taken this.
Paul, the last piece in the puzzle that, again, I will remind people, has average homes at over 1 million.
Yes.
And basically has probably per capita, we probably have, I mean, other than Newport Beach and Lido, I would assume that San Clemente probably has per capita more attorneys per capita, right? So you picked the wrong fight with the wrong people in an engaged community that basically is willing to brawl in the street. Okay?
And they are.
Right.
Literally.
So if you're thinking this is a quick fight that isn't going to cost you money, okay, think again. It took 10 years for those outlets to get built.
All right, so let's stop again
right?
here.
Yes.
So there will be a cost to pay.
Slow down here.
And at the end, you're going to be only benefiting those who are going to build the toll road, There are consultants that are going to sell papers and project
Lobbyists.
and lobbyists that are going to basically push for this thing. It's not going to solve any issues. Okay, it's not going to. If you're really motivated in solutions, and that is part of your legacy versus your pocketbook and your account getting higher, you got to basically come up with different solutions. We're all for improving things, but when what you're proposing makes no rational sense, don't be surprised it gets challenged.
Okay, so I got to go back to the question that you asked her earlier. So I take it that Christina is I know this is a nonpartisan thing, but you were a GOP thing, so I'm assuming that that's where your political, whatever you want to call it, the affiliations are or something here. And it's my perception, right? Or am I right or wrong that the GOP in the county here and the majority of the leaders in the GOP, those are the ones that have been historically pushing for business, for expansion, for growth, for the toll road, right? I mean, if there was anybody pushing the toll road, it was those people. And so you went to a GOP gathering and said, no toll road, let's try some other things. If mobility's the issue, let's try some other things.
And then I didn't get the endorsement.
Yes.
Okay, so you answered my question.
I'm actually kind of a little weird conservative lady, because not only am I a conservative woman, but I also built a zero emissions vehicle. I'm very
Really? Okay.
Yes, built it. I'm the only woman in the world licensed as a U.S. car manufacturer,
Yes.
the same license as Ford, GM, and Chrysler.
You're kidding.
So I've
No.
built a
Well,
vehicle.
I'd love to hear
I've
you
driven
talk
a
about
vehicle.
that some other time here.
Oh, it was a lot of fun.
Well, we
I've
need
raced
to get,
cars, everything.
I needed
so.
to get Christina in time for the election that's
Yeah.
going on, literally where people are filling their ballots today, right?
But eco and so forth isn't the normal conservative person thing.
No.
So
No,
people
but-
have called me
but-
weird, and I'm like, I'll take that.
But you know what? You know what? I will challenge the GOP in this manner. First and foremost, let me just say the only party, I keep saying this, the only party I was ever registered to was the Republican Party. Okay,
When you
that
were
was,
registered,
that
yeah,
was a
right.
long time ago. Okay, I walked away from the insanity a long time ago. Okay, because it did not speak to me on fiscal responsibility and social liberalism and independence of choice. Okay, you went off the rails a long time ago in order to sustain some sort of winnable base.
Well,
okay?
for me, it was the
Well,
Conservative Party was not about conserving
Thank
natural
you.
resources. Yeah,
well, but
so-
Paul,
Thank you.
but Paul, here's the thing, and I see this happening, and I actually just said something about this the other day. Okay, the Orange County GOP got a shellacking last election cycle. Okay,
Big time,
because
yeah.
they did not read the tea leaves. And those tea leaves have not changed, and the doubling down on an extreme position for the next upcoming election cycle is not going to lead to positive results. Even if you are motivated by winning, you got to open your eyes a little bit more, because here's the deal. Not only Orange County, but including Orange County, the state of California is a different layer of GOP, and you cannot embrace a national model that does not work in California and hope to win. Okay, we have had a continuous increase of non-party affiliated registered voters for at least the last decade.
That's been the growth.
GOP has
They
been
lost women just like me.
yes.
They've lost me right now.
Yeah,
and
right.
a lot of women I know, they've lost me. And
we have
and it's-
common friends. I have
Correct.
friends in San Clemente that I have seen that were multi-generational women that were registered as Republicans shed the party over the last 10 years.
So many.
And this is in South County. This is in the
Yes.
boilerplate of conservatism, inches away from Camp
Well, and we've had
Pendleton.
Neil Kelly in
Awesome.
here numerous times who's talked about this demographic trend in great detail, and others. It hasn't been necessarily a growth that the national perception is California's going Democratic. No, the Democrats haven't grown as much as the Republicans have lost. It's been the growth of the independents,
Independent.
which
that
is
declined to stay.
which is to the point right now where it's almost 30-30-30.
Yeah, it's almost.
I wanted to go back to that
Yeah.
GOP meeting
Yeah.
because I wanted to make a statement on that.
Yeah.
Not only was I there, that was only the second time I've ever been to a
Mm-hmm.
meeting, so I was quite overwhelmed that people would surround us and do that to
Mm-hmm.
us. But it was the same evening that here the GOP stepped out, the Lincoln Club and all the others, and withdrew their endorsement on Bill Brough
Mm-hmm.
because of his behavior, which is documented for at least a decade. Many of the women victims I've spoken to, and then they turn around and didn't do a darn thing about the Gene James and his mob Antifa surrounding us women and accosting us. Did nothing. So they're telling one man no, and then his best
They
buddy
actually
Gene
endorsed him.
was okay. And then they endorsed
And
him.
then they endorsed them.
Yes. So
So if you're
lost
wondering
women.
why you're losing GOP OC, This is why.
This is why.
Because none of us are fooled. And the majority of us are now basically non-party affiliated. And the minute you give up your colored shirt and you stop basically supporting things on an ideological level, and you actually are starting to connect and think for yourself versus the talking points, you're not likely to go back.
No.
Well, you're not part of a mob
No,
anymore.
they actually sent different women to communicate to me to tell me to keep my mouth shut.
You're kidding.
I am not kidding you. I have texts, I have emails, I have all kinds of stuff.
All right, so I'm not going to ask for details.
So
there,
again, I will just say, even if it's just purely to win,
right,
you got to come up with a better game plan, because this one ain't working.
it's not even working. All right,
Abuse, harassing,
Yeah.
foul language,
but that's the tribalism of modern day politics and
judgments, collection.
being abusive, and then claiming the victim role.
Yes, right.
That's my favorite, is where you are blatantly documented for being abusive on a consistent manner, where it's a
Consistent.
behavior pattern, and then the minute you get called on it, you become the victim and the martyr.
Everybody's against me.
No, one of the women that was there works for a couple mayors, and I'm not going to use her name because she's not comfortable with it,
Yeah.
because she was also told to keep her mouth shut. She also wrote a letter. And it was a quite healthy one, because she was the one that actually left us and went and got security. She's a Hispanic woman, and there were racial slurs telling her to go back where she came from. And she was so angry that she wrote a letter to somebody very important and basically got told to keep her mouth shut. So when she told me, I said, I'm not keeping my mouth shut. In fact, I'm going on a radio show next week, and I'm going to share it.
Yeah.
They cannot sit there and tell us to just shut our mouths after being physically accosted and not tell anybody, because it would make it look bad.
How did this political party miss a report that was put out in about 2007, I may have the year wrong, called The Changing Face of Orange County? Okay, that actually spoke about growing minority influence in a certain part of the county, talked about diversity, talked about, cross-cultural diversity, intermarried couples, all over the county. How did this party miss that? I mean, it's right there. It was a report put together by UCI, not some liberal Berkeley project, right? UCI and UCLA. And it's called The Changing Face of Orange County.
But
There's
let me
maps.
They don't want women. They don't want.
No.
They want to keep their control, the money flowing to where they can put it where they want, which is to their buddies.
So is it
That's
still
the bottom line.
is it still
here's
a
the
white
thing,
men's
Christina.
club here? Is that what it is?
Here's
An
the
old
thing,
white men's
Christina.
club?
Unless somebody has been sleeping, okay, 2020, be it local or national, is going to be an election determined by women.
Independent women.
Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Independent thinking women
Yes.
that are basically on a daily basis facing a lot of challenges that put time and effort, and
Yep.
they're asked to be solving problems
Yep.
and taking care of things and multitasking and juggling. Okay? These are people that are going to determine the 2020 election.
Yep.
If anybody is all confused about this, they've been
Hundreds
sleeping.
of thousands walked away. So you have the Brexit walk away, you have the other walk away, and then you have, and it's not just Orange County, all the way across the nation. Hundreds of thousands, millions of women walked away from the party, and they are now
I
independent.
mean, I remember when last time Greg Rath was here, we talked about this, not to this extent, but there's an awareness.
He's lovely.
Yeah,
His attorney is the one that came over and surrounded me to make them stop.
that was a horrible
He-
experience.
Great
But I got
guy.
to
And then the guy basically got rewarded by getting an endorsement.
Yeah, the next month.
So I got to just point this out, because the typical conservative versus liberal, liberals say the Republicans.
There is no
Well, let me-
conservative
okay, no,
faces
let me-
liberal. That little neat little box that you want to put people
Yeah.
in doesn't exist,
I
and
know,
it even more so doesn't exist in California.
No.
Because what I'm saying is this: is that when you say Antifa, okay, Antifa is usually a buzzword used on Fox and whatever. Those radical leftists who are going to scream and pelt us with stuff and everything here, and we're not like that.
Yeah,
but
except she
they're-
didn't use it for the leftist.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so
It was a mob.
It
They
was a-
were
it
all
was a mob,
screaming. They
right.
surrounded.
And
I
it
was
was-
this far from my face,
And
screaming.
that's-
And that
spitting.
mob that was surrounding you, that you used the Antifa as a reference point to, that mob is the guy that basically then got endorsed
Correct.
by the conservative
See, I
party.
didn't-
Correct.
I didn't
and
get
I
that.
was at a table with some individuals that are very high up. And I'm telling you, Cynthia Thacker, who is still, I think, right now, the head of the Federated Women for all of Orange County, she wrote a letter And it was very direct of what happened,
Good
and
for
it should
her.
not be allowed.
Yes.
Nothing was done.
Crickets.
Nothing.
Yep.
6 women. Lucy Rath.
All right, but I got to stop you for a second here because I just got this epiphany. You guys are all in the know. I'm out of the know here, all right? I'm not in San Clemente. I'm not involved
You're
in
just
this.
on fire.
All right. So when you described the GOP meeting that you went to and the way you and the terms you used, Antifa, I assumed it was a bunch of angry leftists who showed up to say, you angry GOP people, we're mad at you and go away and we don't like you. What you're saying is the mob wasn't from without, it was from within.
Yes,
Correct.
and here's a member of the GOP, a conservative
5
woman,
feet tall.
5 feet tall, that basically made a reference to the behavior that was not acceptable in terms of the label that's usually associated with. But you're right, Paul. It was not to the leftists. It was
No.
from within, and not
I didn't
and to add
get that,
insult
right.
to injury to those who were subjected to that kind of abuse is then the governing party went ahead and endorsed the person who that mob was there to represent.
I didn't get any of that until now. All right, that's an amazing
It's
story.
disgusting.
I don't know why that's not a bigger
And
piece.
letters were written by those who are on the inside and
Way up.
ignored.
Now, the assumption...
You never know what you're going to hear on this show.
Okay. Election's coming up. How many people running? 5 of you?
4 men and me.
And
And
you.
I'm number 1 on the ballot, so vote for me.
Okay. Well, we don't want any more
Yes,
women, though. We
let's
don't
get-
need independent
okay,
women.
Okay,
Come on.
all right. You need to go back to your back
Shut
40.
those down.
You need
Get
to go
rid
back-
of those
You need
independent-
people that get things done.
Oh, I
The
am
rest
so
of them are
calling your wife.
busy.
I am so calling your wife.
All right, a couple more minutes just to tell us what else, other than how you were treated and the toll road and your proposal on homeless. Any other hot button issues out there that you want to get on the table here? Or are those it?
Well,
I want to actually, if I may,
Yeah,
because we
go
only have
ahead.
a couple minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to switch it. Okay.
Okay.
Take a couple of minutes and tell me what your vision for San Clemente is.
There you go. That's a good one.
my vision for San Clemente is to, for starters, to get city council and the city manager, who I'm not completely fond of, in sync. Get rid of all of this screaming at every city council, just complete belligerent behavior. Get some calmness, get some things resolved, sit down, bring in the community leaders like Patty or others into meetings, get things down on paper, come up with a plan and get them solved versus 2 on this side, 2 on this side, everybody screaming, people walking out. Chris Ham, has been at like 67% of the meetings. And then people are like, well, you didn't come to the debates. I was advised by my attorney and the police to not attend because they were concerned that Gene would behave just like he did with Diane and with, about Dixie the Tupperware lady. Yeah.
You know what? Who's Dixie the top? You're out
No,
talking inside baseball.
there's we'll address it.
It's all
We'll
been-
address it,
it's-
but it's all there. It's all there on social media.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
People that
And
have
who's
basically
who's the kook that shows up with a saber or something?
machete?
The machete.
Well, so my favorite thing about that kind of stuff, because it's like instantaneous. Everything, somebody can post something against the Gene James campaign. Boy, machete is right
Machete.
there,
Tony
basically.
Machete.
Right? Tony Machete. Okay, I actually will share this, and it's my go-to response right now whenever something like that happens. Okay, go ahead and write, just like a dull knife, pointless. Okay.
Ooh, all right.
Because
All right.
if you're going to embrace the fact that you are a cutting edge piece of equipment, weaponry, whatever, I got a newsflash for you. Regurgitating the same crap over and over and over is pointless, just like a dull knife. So you may call yourself a machete. I'm calling you a dull knife. Okay?
Ooh.
Come up with a better situation.
Ouch.
All right.
You know what? You know what's sharper than a machete? A mind.
Ooh, oh, you're
And
really
a sharp
going,
tongue.
You're going after this.
Okay? So it's not because we cannot cut you down to the quick. Okay?
How many you
All right?
got? How many
Okay,
of these
not
you got?
because we can't cut you down to the quick.
How many of these you
we
got?
choose not to engage with you at the cesspool level that you want to live at.
Wow.
Okay.
That was deep.
Right.
All right.
So-
the
so-
last
so-
couple
so-
minutes
so-
are for Christina, not
Yeah,
for you.
yeah, no,
Sorry,
no,
sorry.
and I got to wrap it up. I'm like late 30 minutes to a meeting. Okay,
Right.
but this is really critically important. And I just want to say, Friday, if you're listening to the show, Friday, Mickey will be on.
Yes.
At 1:00. Okay, and I will share all of these again. The door is still open for the last remaining candidate if they want to come on board. I'm sure I can talk Paul into finding a time
I'll find
slot.
a spot for Gene
Okay?
James. Yeah.
But be aware, and I've said this before, I'm an equal opportunity griller. I'm going to basically call it like it is. This is not going to be softballs. Okay, although I've been accused of lobbing, softballs for people, right? Christina, do I lob softball?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, Christina, thank you. I applaud you for taking us up, because there was an
Thank you.
assumption that Rad's a radical leftist or something here. He really is probably more like me.
I chuckle every time somebody tries to label me with that, and I go, "You are so barking up the wrong tree."
He's a great man. He does so much in the
You're
community.
very sweet. Thank you.
You know, I'll say this for myself, too. I think Rad and I share one thing. I would consider myself to be what is now an extinct species, a liberal Republican, which is to say I do not care who you sleep with. I'm very open on social issues. Used to be a lot of us in the Midwest where I came from. Mitt Romney's father was a governor. He was a very liberal Republican. And
Why do I need a label for
and
God's
yet I
sake,
don't,
honestly? Like,
and yet I don't
why,
want
American.
why? I'm a complex human being that has different thoughts on different things, and I take the time
No,
to
you gotta
look
have a
into
label.
look into things beyond sound bites.
And people you
so
don't
that
agree with, you don't beat up.
I don't beat
Yeah,
up.
right.
In
I'm-
fact,
in
I
fact-
learn from the people that have a different point of view, and I expand my knowledge base by engaging with them, not by attacking them.
And what I learned here today
You're so
is-
afraid of somebody else's opinion. No, hold on. And this is true because it also reflects on even religious faith, okay, and belief. If you are so solid in your faith and your belief, whether it is ideological, politically, or faith in terms of religion, if you are so solid in it, then you should be welcoming to opposing points of view, because all it will do is prove that you are as solid as you are. If you are so solid, but you can't, or you convince yourself that you're solid, but you cannot be open to opposing points of view, I got a newsflash for you. You are scared to death to have your reality challenged, because you're afraid you may actually change your mind.
You might be wrong.
You might be wrong.
Well, if anybody thinks they might be wrong and they're trying to pick out about how do they reach you, how do they find you, give us the name, give us the campaign, give us all your last plug here, last pitch here.
Christina2019.com.
And regardless of
And
how
spell Christina, because there's 100 ways that could be spelled.
CHRISTINA 2019.com.
do you want her to spell 2019 too?
No, I got
Okay.
that one.
All right. I don't know what they're feeding them in the back 40 there in Orange County.
Well, Christina could be.
but
And
whatever.
I'm on Facebook. People can find me. I'm a realtor. My phone number's everywhere.
Yeah, I will also say this, okay? I already know that regardless how this campaign turns out come November 5th, this lady is going to be sitting in that chair again. We're going to be talking some
Yes,
more.
sir.
I want to
So
hear
thank
about
you,
the
Christina, for
car.
coming in
Yes,
today.
Absolutely.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Rock on.
Welcome, everybody, to the Raad Life, the only talk radio show that takes you along with host and age explorer Raad Life on his continuing journey of discovery into life's challenges, opportunities, options, and all the latest and greatest things that come with getting older. The Raad Life is brought to you this week by Your Home for a Lifetime, a company dedicated to empowering you to stay safely, independently, and comfortably in your own home. And now here is your host, Raad Life.